One of the things that definitely has raised my eyebrow, and before I open the floor to questions, is the question is, how does an owner decide amongst all the menus out there of opportunities to manage their facilities? How do they go about selecting one of your processes or products or technologies? That's my question, and I open it to anyone in the panel, please.
I can start. You guys back me up. First, for different types of users, they select different use cases. Like, for example, University of Southern California, our first client, they chose that the work order time. They say that if we have all of that information, because my guys are, my VP of facilities said they're traveling around the campus, so we're losing these hours of time just because we have to go there. We can virtually go there now, we're saving time. So that will, we build new buildings, but they don't give me more money for new hires. That's why I have to do that. For the government clients, when I shared that, they said, we don't care, we're government. The money is not an issue. What we're afraid of is the losing face. If there's something bad happens and I cannot find the shut-off valve, I'm going to lose my job, cushy government job. So there's two different opposite things. For Fortune 500 companies, we work with Google. For them, they don't care about money. They don't care about time. They care about the comfort of their $1,000 an hour programmers. So for them, it's the comfort in how visually attractive it can be to maintain that. See, so each owner will choose something based on their primary focus on a mission.
So what I'm hearing is risk management respective to each owner would determine then what they choose in terms of what's available in the market. That's what I'm hearing from Igor. Awesome. Okay, so any questions from the audience? Because I have a slew of questions for them myself, but any questions from the audience?
Thank you. My name is David Males with Servant Dunbrack. We're a Halifax-based firm involved in BIM support services, shall we say, scan to BIM. One of the challenges we face in reaching out to large real property owners, institutions like educational universities, hospitals, is bridging that gap of getting their current workflows more aligned with receiving this information in BIM models. That's just something that we all face if we're in the services side of the business. My real question is, of all the panelists here, this one's aimed at you too, Peter, is you've all got really great solutions. One of the things I think the audience would probably like to hear too is weaved into your presentation success stories about clients here in Canada. You asked one question, who was a property owner in this room, and one person put up their hand. And that's an ongoing challenge we've had to CanBIM is, we're all preaching to each other. We're, singing from the same hymn book. So getting more of the receivers of our services and information is great to get them in these rooms. But I think part of it is talking about clients. You mentioned a few, yes, of course, Great Westlife Realty.
We have 355 million square feet that is managed by our solution. It's all in Canada. I would say half of it is commercial, so malls, towers, industrial parks, and then we have a lot of hospitals, over 100 healthcare centers. The same thing, we deal with old buildings, so we have to bring them to the next generation, which is BIM, but a lot of them are not there yet, but we're helping them get there. So yeah, we have a lot of clients in Canada, and in Toronto, of course.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
This is a soft one for Peter. You mentioned Peter as well as Igor actually, you mentioned the importance of the information and data that's going into these, obviously these software programs and systems. And I just want to get your thoughts on the editing of that information. What information actually should be included? What type of information, and in terms of your own experience, what type of information shouldn't be in that kind of modeling and stuff?
One of the problems is you're taking a design technology, whichever one you're using, and you're going to a facilities world, which is a database-based world. A maintenance management system, for instance, needs very little data from the model. They need to know where it is and what its unique identifier is. You can add more information, and the panelists, I think, would agree with me.
All of us.
Right? Okay. And the problem is typically the AEC firms, and I agree, and I will help you get owners here because that's who I talk to all the time, and you should invite all the owners here because they need to be here, is the AEC people aren't talking to Joe with the name on his shirt. Joe with the name on his shirt, who's running around the room with a wrench, right? Who you think is this low-level guy. He's the guy who knows what data needs to be in the system. So it's a different perspective, and part of the problem is it's a process problem. The AEC professionals are talking to design and construction, worrying about constructability and all the important things in building to building. The maintenance is done typically in a different group. So I say talk to the lowest level worker and then go find the IT department. And once you're there, you found the right people to talk to. Does anyone have anything to add?
Well, we started working with our clients to set BIM standards. So when the professionals, submit their Rivet models, they have to make sure that everything is there for property management. So that's a big thing, to set up BIM standards for property managers. Yeah.
So I'll also add to that it's very important that the design profession capture only the information that they would typically capture for design. So you also have to put some boundaries on it, because I've also seen owners sit there and try to get the design firm to add data that is not typically part of the design process. So you need to basically come up with an execution plan that is going to capture the data as it's being built along all those different phases, so that you're not trying to capture too much information. Also, I think, one of the things that we're keen on is to marry data together. So, the guy that's doing validation is keeping a spreadsheet. How do you marry that data into the BIM model? And, we have processes and procedures and technologies to do that so that we're not replicating the data.
Great. Rick and Axel?
Just, yep, please. Me? Okay. We're the guys that go out and try and capture the data from Joe with the wrench, and we give them very, very simple tools to do that, because real-time service records to understand how your building is operating, how it's being used is I think really the key piece of the puzzle in the FM, and then bring that back into the BIM.
Thank you, Rick. Axel?
Yeah. Well, reinforcing a little bit of what Peter said, and what we see a lot, and especially internationally, for example, in the Middle East, we see a lot of BIM requirements that kind of overdo it in terms of what information they want in the model. And really, if you want the right information at the end, having the identifier and in the objects, that's it. I mean, if you can, a lot of the rest of the information can be collected through COBie or other tools available without having to be inside the actual Revit, ArchiCAD, or Tekla model.
Thank you. It sounds like you guys all met our guy, Joe, with a wrench, but ours has a hammer as well. Yes, next question, please.
Hi, I'm Brent from IBI Group. I did a lot of work in the UK over the last decade, and the whole BS 1192 standard and the concept of the employer's information requirements. And I wanted to raise that here because these EIRs talk a lot about what you're saying, defining what an owner will want and leaving it to the entire consortium to plan when throughout the life cycle that data will be acquired, whether it's in the BIM, whether it's beyond. Now, my question is, through your owner clients, have you seen any discussion on concepts like an EIR, where when we're planning a BIM execution, those requirements are put at the forefront for understanding and consumption by the designers and contractors to know what that end game is right from the very beginning? Because doing execution planning in the UK, step one is the EIR. So it's about what the owner is looking for before we even talk about Revit versus Bentley versus et cetera. Thank you.
So yeah, actually USC put the data requirements into their guidelines back in 2008. They were one of the first. And everybody right now that we work with, they are trying to put those requirements. The challenge with the previous questions, when you ask the Joe with the wrench, most of the time he doesn't know because he never used data. What he did is just go there and fix it. So you need to have actually iterative approach. You show them what the technology can do, he gives you feedback back. You show them something else, he gives you feedback. So it's not like, tell me what you want. 90% of the time, they don't know. So that's my comment.
Our institutional clients they know BIM, but they need guidance in setting standards. And our commercial clients, most of them don't know what BIM is. So there's a lot of education.
Awesome.
I think the UK is a little ahead of us.
Yeah.
That is true. The UK is much further ahead. They've made it a mandate, and so is the US government, and through the GSA set standards for all public buildings across the United States. And I think we're on our way there. I think a little behind. That being said, I want to just thank everyone on the panelists once again for their great presentations and responses. Do appreciate it.